So we're just a day away from the Oscars, and I thought I'd get my 2 cents in with the films nominated. Hi, this is Ren, and this is All Walks of Film. So starting out with the nominations, you have writing for original screenplay, and the films nominated were Bridge of Spies, Ex Machina, Inside Out, Spotlight, and Straight Outta Compton. Now, the interesting thing about Straight Outta Compton is it was written by white people. Yes, primarily black film was written by white people, and it's the only nomination. I know that there have been discussion of, Oscars so white, but this is a glaring example. As far as films that I think could win, I think it's really a toss-up between Ex Machina, Inside Out, and Spotlight. Now, given the fact that Spotlight is such a dialogue-heavy film, in fact, there isn't a lot of elaborate cinematography or production design or anything like that in Spotlight. It really depends on the dialogue, and I think that because of that, the film stands a high chance of winning, and that might be the only nomination that it gets. Following that up, we have adapted screenplay, and the films that are nominated are The Big Short, Brooklyn, Carol, The Martian, and Room. Now, as far as adapted screenplay, I really think that Room is going to win, even though I know that there's a lot of buzz for The Martian. The reason why I think Room might win is because it's such a personal film. And also, how do you make a film centered around people stuck in a room so interesting? I know they've done it with 12 Angry Men and several other films, but like this film is heavily dependent on the screenplay, and I think it was a wonderful screenplay, especially with all the wonderful dialogue that was given to the boy that was in the film that unfortunately did not get nominated. Following this up, we have visual effects. Now, I personally think this is a toss-up between Mad Max Fury Road and The Revenant. The films nominated are Ex Machina, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars. The reason why I think that Mad Max Fury Road might have the edge is because of the practical effects. We see so much CGI in movies, and Mad Max Fury Road really embraced practical effects and stunts and everything like that. And since we don't have a stunt category, I think that Mad Max might have a chance in winning visual effects. Star Wars obviously has to get nominated, but it wasn't really adding anything new to the picture. It was just same old stuff. Now, granted, I personally really like Star Wars, and if you go back and watch the commentary that my co-host and I did, we had a lot of good things to say, but the special effects was definitely not one of them. But, of course, it was nominated. It's interesting to see that The Avengers wasn't nominated, and I'm kind of glad because I personally think that film was rather weak. I know that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a force to be reckoned with as far as box office goes, but when I was watching the film, I really just wanted to go back and watch Mad Max, and it was partly because everything that I saw on screen, I didn't have any question of whether it was real or computer generated. Now, I've had the same experience with The Revenant, so it is really a toss-up between those two films. But for my pick, it will definitely be Mad Max Fury Road. Next up, we have sound mixing. The films nominated are Bridge of Spies, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, I personally think that Mad Max Fury Road also has a chance with this, partly because it didn't get nominated for Best Original Score, which is unfortunate, but I think that a lot of people watching the film thought that the guitar riffs and the music that was in the film was diegetic, so do you really include that? I know it's stupid, but I think that was their bias in nominating original score, which I'll get into later. That being said, due to the fact that there was so much blending with the music and the action and everything like that. Sound editing is a given. Mad Max Fury Road. Sorry, sound mixing. Next up, we have sound editing. Now, like I just said, a lot of people get these confused, and especially when it comes to voting. So, sound editing and sound mixing, I personally need to educate myself more on the differences, and I'll probably get into that once I actually figure out the big difference. But I think that Mad Max Fury Road will win this as well because, I mean, like I said before, a lot of people aren't really clear of the difference. So if you know the difference, bear with me. I will actually probably make a podcast about this once I find out and I can explain it to you. But at the moment, I can't. So the films nominated are Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, Sicario, and Star Wars The Force Awakens, which obviously Star Wars gets this because Star Wars, you know, is known for its sound design, but I think that Mad Max is a much more compelling film. Now, I don't really want to get into the short films because the only one that I saw was World of Tomorrow, the Donald Hertzfeldt film. So I think that has a strong chance of winning, but I don't know. If you're interested in seeing that film, it's on Netflix. As far as production design goes, the films that are nominated are Bridge of Spies, The Danish Girl, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, and The Revenant. Now, I think this is a toss-up between Mad Max Fury Road and The Revenant. I personally like Mad Max Fury Road's production design a lot better because they're not basing it off of everything, but given the track record for the Oscars, they really like period pieces, and given the fact that so much of the production design that The Revenant had was involved with really simplistic sets and simple costumes and everything like that, I think that they might dig that, but I definitely think that Mad Max is a much better film than that, and I'll get more into that when I talk about costumes as well, because I think that Mad Max deserves the costumes as well. As far as music, original song, Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey, which is funny. 50 Shades of Grey is an Oscar-nominated film in one way. Then you have Manta Ray for Racing Extinction, which is a good song, but, you know, it's your typical change the world documentary song, so I don't know. You have Simple Song number 3, which I didn't hear, from Youth. You also have Till It Happened to You from The Hunting Ground, which is sung by Lady Gaga, so it has a strong chance. Plus the song's about rape, and we're talking about like the 1-5 and all that kind of stuff, which I think that given the fact that Lady Gaga was raped at one point in her life and the emotional impact of the song, I think that this is a given. The other film nominated is Writings on the Wall, which is from Spectre. It might win. People like Sam Smith, but I think it's going to be hard to compete with Lady Gaga. Next, we have Best Original Score, which the films that are nominated are Bridge of Spies, Carol, The Hateful Eight, Sicario, and Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, Star Wars The Force Awakens really didn't add a lot to Star Wars music. Like, I honestly think the prequel trilogy had better music, especially Star Wars Episode 1 and Star Wars Episode 3. Now, I'm just talking about the music. I didn't really remember much about the music in Star Wars The Force Awakens, and I think that Mad Max Fury Road should have been nominated because Junkie XL did an amazing job. I've listened to that soundtrack over 100 times, and I love just about every track in there. It's shameful that it wasn't nominated, but given the fact that it wasn't a traditional score, like a lot of it had to do with computerized music as well as rock riffs and everything like that. It I don't know. I think that some of the older people just weren't buying into it, but I mean, it's fantastic. The film that is going to win is The Hateful Eight. People love Ennio Morricone. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, I just don't think that was the right choice. I think that Mad Max Fury Road should have at least been nominated, but that being said, The Hateful Eight is going to win. Next up, we have foreign language film, which there's no contest. The films nominated are Embrace of the Serpent, Mustang, Son of Saul, Thebe, and A War. And Son of Saul is going to win. I will say that the Holocaust is easily the most manipulative subject, and most movies that are about the Holocaust get nominated and win in some category or another. It's just a really easy subject to pull emotion from. And I'm not saying that the movie Son of Saul is weak for that. I'm just saying that it's a given. Next up, we have film editing. The films nominated are The Big Short, Mad Max Fury Road, The Revenant, Spotlight, and Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, once again, Mad Max Fury Road, I think, earns this win, especially because it is an action movie where the edits are so clean and crisp, but there are so many edits in the film, and the fact that it's like cut, and everything feels so smooth is just amazing. And I really hope that it wins film editing. If out of all the films nominated for Best Film Editing, Mad Max Fury Road by far deserves it. Next up, we have documentary feature, and the films nominated are Amy, Cartel Land, The Look of Silence, What Happened to Miss Simone, and Winter on Fire, Ukraine's Fight for Freedom. The film that I think is going to win is Amy, because there is an unspoken bias on music documentaries, and given the fact that so many people loved Amy Winehouse, I think it is a sure win. Unfortunately, I think that The Look of Silence should win, partly because it is a great accompaniment to a film that came out a couple of years ago called The Act of Killing, which is about genocide, and is a very powerful film, and this film looks at the other angle of that. So as far as films that are really trying to push a social issue, I think The Look of Silence is the best choice. But given the fact that the Oscars are so in love with music documentaries, I think that the Amy Winehouse documentary will win. All right, for directing, we have The Big Short, Mad Max Fury Road, The Revenant, Room, and Spotlight. The film that I think is going to win is Mad Max Fury Road, and the reason why I say that is because this is probably George Miller's only chance to win Best Director. Iñárritu is going to make another film. He's going to make several more films, and I sort of think that there might be a backlash to Iñárritu, especially after hearing the sort of behavior that he's had on sets and during his productions. There's been some question over the methods and his behavior. I know most people judging at the Oscars might not know these sort of things, but I think it's important for directors to have a good set. Now, granted, he is a very talented man and he might win, but I really would like to see George Miller win. It would be a surprise to me. Iñárritu's the sure thing, but I really would like to see Fury Road win. As far as costume design goes, you have Carol, Cinderella, The Danish Girl, Mad Max Fury Road, and The Revenant. As I said before with production design, I think it's a toss-up between Mad Max Fury Road and The Revenant. The Revenant might win just because of the Oscars bias towards period pieces. But this might be a surprising win for The Danish Girl, just because having to design clothes for a man to wear that are initially designed for women. So I think that could win just because of that factor, but I'm not sure. As far as cinematography goes, the films nominated are Carol, The Hateful Eight, Mad Max Fury Road, The Revenant, and Sicario. Guys, I am really biased towards Mad Max Fury Road. The cinematography was absolutely brilliant, but it is another toss-up between Mad Max Fury Road and The Revenant. Emmanuel Lubezki is one of the best cinematographers working today, and he's been nominated and won, I think, 3 years in a row. I mean, he's brilliant, and some of the best imagery that I've seen in films comes from him. As far as that goes, I would just like to see another person win. It's not that The Revenant does not deserve to win, but Iñárritu is always going to push himself, and he's obsessed with the long takes, and working with Iñárritu, and I just think that Emmanuel Lubezki does not deserve the win for this year, and it's not because, I just think that Mad Max should win just because, given the chaos of it all, there was organization to it. It wasn't Michael Bay, and there was so much going on, and every single frame was completely controlled, tight-knit, and it just was perfect. But I guess it's a real toss-up whether you like long extended takes or whether you like short shots that, tell the message, tell the story. I really would like Mad Max to win, but I think The Revenant is a sure thing. Next we have animated feature film. The films nominated are Anomalisa, Boy in the World, Inside Out, Shaun the Sheep, and When Marnie Was There. The film that I am pretty sure is going to win is Inside Out. It's Pixar, and Disney already bought that Oscar, so I really liked Anomalisa. It would be nice to see an R-rated animated film win the Oscar, but if Inside Out won, I wouldn't be so mad because that film was really touching and I think worked. I think it was really good. All right, next up we have actress in a supporting role. The actresses nominated are Jennifer Jason Leigh for The Hateful Eight. You have Rooney Mara for Carol, Rachel McAdams for Spotlight. What? Okay. And Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl, and Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs. The actress that I think is going to win is Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl. Now, I actually haven't seen The Danish Girl, but she was absolutely brilliant in Ex Machina, and it would be nice to see her win for this role, given what I've heard of the film, but also because after seeing Ex Machina, this woman deserves a nomination for her talent. Next up, we have actor in a supporting role. The actors nominated are Christian Bale for The Big Short. Christian Bale always gets nominated. You have Tom Hardy for The Revenant, which I actually think out of all the films that he was in this year, that's kind of a poor choice just because I thought his character was so simple. I would have liked a character that had a lot more range, and he just felt like a typical villain. There wasn't a lot of depth to his character. It was very one-dimensional, which is unfortunate because given the setting and everything like that, you could have played with his character, but I thought it was really unfortunate that Tom Hardy wasn't given a little bit more meat to chew on. You also have Mark Ruffalo for Spotlight, which might win just because of the Academy's love of Mark Ruffalo since he's been nominated several times. Sometimes the Academy will just give somebody the win after they've been nominated several times, so that might happen with Mark Ruffalo. You have Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies, and his role was okay, but It was serviceable. It was decent, but there was nothing stand out about it. And then you have Sylvester Stallone in Creed. Way to go, Oscars. You nominated practically the only white person in that movie. But let's face it, people like Rocky, so, Sylvester Stallone has a high chance of winning. So, as far as my prediction goes, I'm actually going to go with Spotlight, Mark Ruffalo's performance. Sylvester Stallone will probably win, but that's one of those toss-ups, so that's my prediction. As far as actress in a leading role goes, I think room has it. Brie Larson gave it an amazing performance, even though her character technically was a supporting performance. Obviously, since she was the adult and since she was in much of the movie, they just gave her lead role. The other actresses nominated are Cate Blanchett for Carol, Jennifer Lawrence for Joy, Charlotte Rampling for 45 Years, and Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn, which, oh my god, I don't want to see Brooklyn. I'm sorry, it's just not a film for me. Next up, we have actor in a leading role, Bryan Cranston for Trumbo, Matt Damon for The Martian, which apparently was a comedy if you watch the Golden Globes, Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant, which I know people have been saying it over and over again. Leonardo DiCaprio deserves the Oscar because he's been trying really hard to get an Oscar, and I don't know if that means that he'll win, but I think he really pushed himself with this role, and if he doesn't win, I can't imagine what he's going to push himself to do with his next performance. But if he doesn't win this time, he's going to try harder and harder and harder, and the joke will continue. But I really think he's going to win. Then you also have Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs, which I haven't seen the role, but Michael Fassbender is one of my favorite actors working today. However, I think Leonardo DiCaprio will win this. You also have Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl, which he won last year. But given the fact that it's a role about a transgender character, I think due to all of the Caitlyn Jenner stuff that he might win for that performance, but it's unlikely. But that might be a surprise. And finally, we have Best Picture. The Big Short, which I unfortunately haven't seen. I'm going to watch it tonight, but I haven't seen for this piece. Now, Bridge of Spies was kind of like meh. Especially since I expect so much more from Steven Spielberg because he gave us, absolutely amazing movies before. And he's just gotten old. I think the talent was wasted. And the movie is just okay. I mean, if it came out on TV, it wouldn't be much different. The movie didn't really do anything. So, the fact that it got nominated for Best Picture kind of blows my mind. I mean, if you want to talk about a film that should get taken off the list and replaced with Straight Outta Compton, Bridge of Spies might be my nomination. If not that, Brooklyn, because... I mean, unfortunately, I haven't seen it, but I'm not really interested in seeing it. And if the movie is that damn good, just let me know in the comments because I would really like to know if Brooklyn is not the film that I think it is, but it just looks like fluff to me. Mad Max Fury Road is the movie I really hope wins the Oscar, and given the fact that it's the only action movie ever to be nominated for Best Picture, it would be nice to see a first-time win. It would also be nice to see a sci-fi movie win for the first time, because technically speaking, Mad Max is science fiction. Another movie that's nominated that's science fiction is The Martian, but while that's an audience pleaser, I don't see that as a win. What I do see as a win is The Revenant. Possibly, but given the fact that the film is so violent, I think that there might be a backlash, especially since many of the reviewers are of an older demographic, and sometimes more violent movies, they they're a lot more critical of. Room and Spotlight might win. I think Room might be a little too hard for Best Picture, but it's possible. I think Spotlight has a good chance of winning because it celebrates journalism, and we live in a generation where journalism is dead. I mean, you go on to like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and you're trying to find news, like real news, and they're more concerned about showing Britney Spears' vagina or Caitlyn Jenner or the Kardashians and all this kind of stuff than real important news. And this film really embraces that. So I think the cultural significance of that time period might lean towards that winning Best Picture, but I'm not sure. Best Picture this year is really up in the air, but I really would like to see Mad Max Fury Road win. All right, so tomorrow, my co-host Casey and I will be doing a live commentary on the Oscars, and it should get pretty heated and riled. So if you're interested in listening to two people bitch about wins, definitely check that out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you later.